Welcome back to Song Podcast with Beatrice
and Lacey.
So Lacey is my childhood friend, and she agreed to do this pod episode with me. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
Today's episode, we are on the roof. It's very hot out.
Yep.
I feel like we have to enjoy the weather this weekend because it's starting to rain next week again.
One thing about Boston is it's always raining.
Yeah.
At least in the spring.
New England weather. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we have more consistency soon. But yeah, so it's quite hot out. We're enjoying the sun on the rooftop. Today we are talking about work part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Lacey's the perfect person to talk about this with because she's the most corporate girly that I know.
Granted, all of our friends are like doctors and in science, so I'm the only example in our friend group of someone who works a normal corporate job.
Still, even if that was not the case, I feel like you're still very gives me corporate boss girl vibes.
Sure. I love that for me.
Because technically I'm also a corporate girl.
Yep.
And you're definitely more corporate girl vibes than I am.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, so I mean, how are you a corporate girly? Lacey, let me know. What do you do?
Yes, so I am a campus recruiter.
Yeah.
So I do all the hiring for the Boston office of our firm. So I work for an accounting and consulting firm. And again, I just do all the hiring and
corporate
in terms
girly.
Of, yeah, we hire interns and associates into accounting positions, but also into advisory positions. So things like risk advisory, forensic accounting, cybersecurity, wide range of different teams that we have.
Is recruitment, it's technically HR, right?
It's part of HR, but technically my role is just talent acquisition. So HR is its own thing, and they handle training.
I see.
When people leave the firm, the offboarding, more those types of things, compliance. Yeah. So that's all separate.
Okay, yeah. It's hot out here.
I know. We're struggling.
Yeah, but dang, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else that's in talent acquisition.
No.
Yourself.
Yeah, it's a pretty specific thing, and it's kind of hard to get into in a sense.
Really?
It's hard to find opportunities. I actually only found this opportunity because I knew I wanted to do this after my last job that I had, but one of my friends worked for this firm, and she saw that they were hiring, and it was the right place, right time. I was looking, and so she was able to connect me to the recruiter at the time, and that's essentially how this landed in my lap, which I'm so happy because I've been with this company for 3 years now, and it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
But that's just a plug too on the importance of leveraging your personal connections and your professional ones to find a job or to find out about opportunities. Because if I didn't live with this friend who worked at the firm, then I would have never known about it, nor would I have found it. And again, I've been here 3 years, and it's been so much fun.
I think work relationships should be a bigger part of your life. And some people think of it it's superficial, and it's just networking, and it's yes and no. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I completely agree.
Yeah.
I have coworkers that I'm very close with that are not in my line of work. So they're people I've hired in the past. I have a really funny friend group of people.
Yeah.
Because I started with the firm, I think, when I was 23, 22, and that's the same age as the people we were hiring at the time. So in a lot of ways, it was really helpful socially because I just knew
interesting.
everyone before they started. And so I've gone on trips with a few coworkers. But then on the other end, I have a friend at work and we use Microsoft Teams. Shout out Microsoft to text each other, to text. And we were trying to coordinate something outside of work. And I was let me get your phone number and I'll set up a group message and we'll get this plan in motion. I think we wanted to go to a brewery or something after work. And he was like, I don't give my phone number to people from work. And I was like, you're being so weird. Like, that's so weird.
And this is literally your friend.
Yes. This is someone I talk to every time I'm in the office, like someone that I message a lot of the time. I thought it was so weird.
So you were just a work friend.
Yeah. So he basically was like, because again, in the summer, everyone wants to like do things, right? So at work, I was like, oh, we should do a beach day. We should do a day where we go do this. Let me coordinate it. And he was like, yeah, like I separate my work life from my social life, and like.
Then why are you going to a brewery together? That's your social life now.
I'm so confused.
Also, a phone number is like the least invasive contact information. You know what's more invasive is like your social media, like your Instagram. I don't want you to see what I'm doing. That's different. Your phone number like is not as, you know.
Yeah, that's very true. So that one rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, for sure.
But beyond that, I do agree that having friends at work is very important, because they could be people that you have in your wedding or go on trips with or do whatever you do. And it just makes the experience of working a lot more enjoyable when you have people to like eat lunch with or
for sure
hang with.
I think that's the number one reason that like work is even bearable, because like, I mean, I totally feel the same way. I don't know. Are you hybrid? Do you have to go in?
We are. It's confusing. I guess maybe I can talk about like how my job works, and that will answer the question.
Okay.
Because in recruiting, so we have.
Yeah, because this is so different. I bet this is so different.
Yeah. So there's 2 like busy seasons in recruiting, and they're fall and spring, and that's because that's when you're on campus hiring people.
I see.
So in the fall and spring, I am mostly separating my time between all my different schools. So I have 10 schools in the New England area, and my apartment, because I'm there, I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, I'm there, I'm here, and I'm, doing selection, I'm just setting up interviews, like that kind of stuff. And then when we get into winter and summer, that's when we have intern classes. So I run the internship programs, which are in office. So I'm in the office a lot more during the winter and the summer, just because in the fall and spring, I'm also the only recruiter for Boston. So I just have kind of too much on my plate to be jumping between like 3 places, like home, apartment, home, office, school number 1, home, office, school number 2. Like it's just a little bit too crazy. So I usually don't go in as much, even though I'd like to, because again, it's a social thing for me. Like I hate working from home. I love being in the office with my friends. So
I mean, you're literally in recruiting. Like
this makes a lot of sense.
You're an extrovert. I would glean from this.
Yes, this is true. If anyone was curious.
Yeah, that wasn't apparent.
But yeah, so that's like the cyclical nature of it, is it's like campus, office, campus, office. But yeah, so that really dictates how often I'm going in.
I see.
What about you?
I'm hybrid, so I definitely have like a more regular schedule. Like I have to go in 3 times a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like flat out like when I have to be in the office. Yeah. It's kind of like for me, because sometimes I feel like I can do my job remote, so it's kind of like, why am I going in the office? And the number one reason that I actually would enjoy going in is literally relationships with people I have, like going in to have lunch with people is so important, like seeing and like, that's why I just like work relationships in that aspect is like also really important. So that's why I was like curious, like but
I think our firm is technically hybrid, but then like with interns, we have them come in every day because we want them to get the full experience from a culture perspective. But like sense. Recently I've been doing twice a week just because I have the time and the bandwidth to do that. So Tuesday, Thursday, or Wednesday, Thursday, I typically go in.
Yeah. Even if you love your job, like in itself, it's probably just really hard for anyone to want to go in if you don't have good relationships with the people around you. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But dang, okay, we get to like hear about the whole world of talent recruiting. I didn't know any of this before, just like you just told me. Like that's crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's cool. So I bet you like one of the most common questions you probably get as a talent recruiter, because like I remember when I was in college and I went to like those fairs, like those job fairs and stuff, and like networking, and college kids are like swarming those tables. They're just like
a lot of eager beavers. For sure.
And it's just funny because you can tell when someone is talking to a recruiter or like HR person, and the way that they prepare and like present themselves and like talk, and it's just like presenting your best self. Like, does that stuff work? like you can tell like the ones that are just like, oh, I got this and this, I gotta present myself like at a fair. Does that stuff work? Or are there like other things that are like more important that you're like, I'm looking for this and this as someone that works on the back end of recruiting and hiring?
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things that I want to talk about. I think the first thing is that the nature of like who the candidate is has changed a lot since we were in school. So what I mean by that is when we were in school, everything was very like buttoned up, like everything was very formal with the process. And I felt like there were steps you follow and like that's how you get a job. Then COVID happened, and all the kids that are in school over the past few years or have been were in COVID for either majority of their college experience or their high school experience. So they lack a lot of the skills that I feel like we had, which sounds so silly, but I definitely noticed a difference between like our generation and then my brother's, and he's only 4 years younger than me, but he started college in COVID. So I think from that, like I don't meet a lot of candidates who are extremely polished and excited, like, and are presenting the right things. However, I also will say that we've been recruiting really early, aka like the younger students, because of just the nature of how competitive the industry is. So like we're targeting, in the past we were probably targeting juniors and seniors. Now we're targeting freshmen and sophomores on campus. So you're naturally meeting people who are less polished, who are more nervous.
Do you think that's an industry shift or just your firm shift? Like, is that
industry? Like... Yeah. So we do what the other firms in our competitive landscape are doing.
That's interesting, because I feel like nowadays people are like, oh, like the job market, it's definitely like, I feel like gotten better since COVID, but I didn't get the impression that the job market was better than before COVID. But it sounds like you guys are amping it up because there's more competition to get students from college. Like if you're starting from freshmen versus like when we were juniors and seniors and getting recruited then. So
I think the difference is like when we were in school, you do an internship after junior year and then you hope to get invited back for post-grad if that's like your journey.
Yes.
But now, especially if you're an accounting student, you might intern after freshman year with this Big Four company, intern after sophomore year with this Big Four company, intern after junior year with this like regional firm, and then decide, actually, no, I like I almost name dropped. I like this firm. Sorry, everyone. I don't want to like say it. But then they might decide, actually, I like the firm that Lacy represents. So maybe I'll go for that. So I think it's weird because now students have a lot more opportunity to like double dip or like
they have more options.
They have options and they know that they have options. So they aren't as like respectful of the process. Yeah. Which makes it really difficult being on my end and having to witness that. But at the same time, I think I can usually really tell when someone's excited about us versus excited about like someone anything else in the industry. Yeah. And I can tell when people have done their research. Yeah. I also think I'm usually one of the youngest recruiters at events. And so I think the students feel really comfortable with me because it's more relatable talking to someone in your sort of age range. 100%. So I feel like I generally have less formal conversations with students on campus, but that's just because, again, they're not looking at me as if I'm
a recruiter,
a 45-year-old recruiter. Right. I'm mid-20s. They're more comfortable like kind of approaching the conversation. Yeah, 100%. So I know that was a very roundabout way of answering your question, but a lot of things have changed like beyond. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Interesting.
It's been very interesting.
Because like your company is like, I would say like a pretty top like desirable company to go into. So the fact that they feel like they do have options.
Yeah. It's very palpable.
Right.
And also all the recruiters talk. So, right, I'm an extrovert. I make friends with the competition because got to keep my enemies close. And so
we know this is like a thing. Like I didn't know that was like what recruiters do.
No, it's so like what you'd see in like a movie. You guys are getting
like the behind the tea. Wow.
Yeah, so and the recruiters talk, so like when students go to a different firm, then if you want them to come to you and they go somewhere else, you will likely hear about it because that person would like tell me.
No way.
Yeah. So it's just very interesting. And then again, like those people could leave that company to come to ours or vice versa. And everybody knows everything because everything's also posted on LinkedIn these days. Like students are very post heavy.
For sure.
So you see everything either online or through word of mouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, the students have definitely changed. over
it
the
seems
years.
like they are now in control, because I feel like in our generation we felt like the companies were in control, and we're just kind of like, oh, we just gotta, you know,
yes,
at their whim.
We almost like feared the process. Whereas now I feel like the students don't care as much, and it's because they know, at least in the accounting major, which is
that feels very
dwindling.
Gen Z though, like.
Yes.
Wow.
It's been really interesting to see, because I also mentioned I've been here 3 years, and I feel like each year I'm like picking up on it more and more, that not only has our strategy shifted to be younger students or younger candidates, but like they almost feel like they will be hired.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Wow.
So the perception's just different.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for their self-confidence, because like I would love to be assured of that, because then you don't have fear of like not having a job and being that that's part of your self-worth, like your job. Yeah. But like that seems like that's just not the case for these kids, and I can see why there's like a cultural shift in general with the Gen Z. Yeah. They're just like not wanting, like shareholder value was like a big goal for us. Yes. Millennials. Yes. We cared about that. But wow, okay, interesting. Yeah. So that almost like makes a point, like for you, if a certain like kid, I mean, are they kids?
I know. Sometimes I say that too. Yeah. Don't worry.
Like the people that you're recruiting, if they are like even more just excited about joining your company, is that like a huge plus for you? Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
This makes you way more likely to hire you.
Yeah, and it's funny because I sit on a lot of panels about kind of topics like this, like talking through, okay, your ideal candidate, what they're doing, how they're acting. And I think one of the biggest things I always say is for students to focus on finding the right fit for them. And so not taking like the pressure of going to these companies because everyone at school is going to these companies, or my professor said this company is the best, so I'm going to go there. Like actually taking the time to get to know recruiters, professionals, like anybody that's at these events, to really get a feel for culture and size and community, because those are the things that are actually going to matter when you join. It's not the flashy name or the flashy pay or whatever it is, because in the grand scheme of things, pay will it all evens out. Money comes and money goes, right? Yeah. So it's really about finding the right fit for you. So that's always a big piece of advice I give. And with that too, like taking the time to actually get to know people that you're meeting on campus with the time that you have, right? Because when we go to campuses, we're on the students' turf. So we're really accessible to them. And I feel like a lot of students these days don't come to events anymore. And again, I think it has to do with that attitude. It doesn't work, right? I think it's also just the attitude of, I'll get a job. Yeah. They're hiring like crazy, blah, 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 whatever their reasons might be. And also I think it could be because they were COVID kids. There's some nervousness around social interaction. So it's a combination of things, but I always encourage them to go to events. So first step is showing up and then talking to 3 people you haven't met before. Right. And 1 person that you do know. So like if it's me who's going to every event, like reintroducing yourself, building that connection, because when I see applicant names on a list, I recognize people I've met on campus. Like no way. Yeah, there's tools and technologies that you can set up to basically like show who you've met on campus. I just have a good memory, so I'm usually like, oh, I know Max and I know Emily from these events. Yeah. When I was in college and I went to those, I was like, what is the point? They're not going to remember me because there's hundreds of other kids. They don't like remember this stuff. Yeah. But like, that's not true. And they might not, but there are softwares that companies use to keep track of that information. And again, I have a good memory, so I always remember. And then I also take note too of like the people that do get hired that weren't at events, because it's just interesting to see, because I promote going to events, I promote all these things, but it's like, other people did get selected. So there's not one right answer. Right. Yeah. But those are the things that I definitely recommend, especially if we're on your campus or on like in your area. Right. To try and make connections, because those are the things that will likely help you get through the process. Yeah. And give you good advice for interviews and stuff like that. Yeah. It's so interesting because I feel like I've heard like culture this, culture that ever since like I first started my career journey. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I thought that stuff was BS. Yeah. And fake. I was like, exactly. And I was like, companies just talk about that because they like to promote themselves in that way. But then I've realized in my career journey, it is not BS. It is 100% true. And I think more people, like more like people looking for a job should take that seriously, because
it's only after you go through like one or two companies and you realize that certain companies are not a right fit for you, you're like, oh my god, culture is literally the number one like reason that most people stay or like a company. It's not always salary. Like salary helps, yeah, for sure. But I talked about culture in my last work episode with Ruby and how like I recommended when you interview for your position that you should actually interview your manager, because like interviewing HR and like managers, like they are part of the company and they kind of like give you a little insight into what the company is like, and most likely your impression of these people that work there is like what the culture is like at the company. Do you feel like that's the case?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I recommend the same thing. I always tell students to ask 3 questions at the end of interviews.
Yeah.
That don't have to do with them, like that have to do with the interviewer.
Yeah.
And I also usually give them the names of the interviewers ahead of time so they can look up their like LinkedIn and learn something about them beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I think that just adds a level of comfort too.
Yeah, for sure. Some people will, like you just said, look at the brand name and the salary, and that's their most important, which, yes, okay, there's reasons, obvious reasons why. But when you get into conflicts at work, when you're trying to move up the ladder, when you're trying to enjoy just being in the office, culture, in my opinion and from my experience, is like the number one important thing to help in all those aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Because like I said earlier, I'm the only one in recruiting in Boston. So my social life is the people that I've hired, A, or the people that I've met in the office, B. So that's huge. And I think that, well, I think also coming from my perspective where I'm sitting on panels all the time and hearing like, what's your favorite part of working for X company? And they're like, the people. It's annoying to hear, right? And it's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. Yeah. However, in most cases, it is true. It's true. Which I think is comforting because that means there's good people out there. Regardless of where you end up, you will likely find people, which is great.
Yeah.
But on the culture side, there's a lot of things I think that companies have been doing, especially since COVID, to bring people into the office and create community. So like in our office, for example, like we have a book club, we have a fitness club, so we get to go to like classes together. We have lunch on Thursdays that's just like communal. So everyone on Thursdays that goes in gets free lunch, which is so nice. And I go in on Thursdays, if you couldn't guess.
We only get free bagels on Wednesday mornings.
See, we used to have bagels. Nope, we're doing lunch.
Lunch, I would prefer.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. I love my company.
But like things like that do matter.
Yeah, it does.
Especially from like a hobbies perspective. Like I've met so many friends through our fitness group, through the book club too, because I started reading a couple years ago. Like just, I don't know, there's a lot to be said about like meeting people you wouldn't meet through your actual day job that you would meet just in the same office environment.
Agreed.
But like through these activities. So I think that's extremely important. And I know every company has their things and their benefits, but it's something to definitely consider when you're looking into employment and just like the type of place you want to work. Like, do they have those offerings? Do they resonate with you? Like, is it something you'd want to join? Yeah,
100%. Something else, I already touched upon it briefly, but climbing the ladder. I think that's something that at our age we are contemplating more. So I guess just transitioning into that topic. Have you thought about that? Just climbing the ladder in your company and your corporate career and your future? I'm struggling with that right now.
Yeah, I am too.
Tell me what to do, Miss Talent Recruiter.
No, I think everyone struggles with that because I think there's a lot of uncertainty at our age about what we want to do with our lives. Yeah. Which is a separate offshoot.
Someone requested for me to do an episode on quarter life crisis, and I was like,
oh, sign me up. I'll be back. Because I feel like I'm experiencing that right now. But I will say that promoting and upward mobility is a huge topic. Even with the freshmen and sophomores on campus, they want to know how long it takes for them to go from point A to point B, because there are very set milestones at our firm, and a lot of the firms lay it out that way. In recruiting, I unfortunately can't say it's the same. It's very different. It's not such a set process. There's less.
Wait, that's interesting. They have a set process for like your analysts or your associates, like every 2 or 3 years, but they don't have that for your talent recruiters?
Not as much. Just
That's strange.
It's hard to explain, I guess, but it's just the way that
it's not like lack of transparency, is it? It's just like your job.
I think it's just because we're internal and the other teams are like revenue producing and we're not, which is a whole other topic of like anger that I feel. But because we're not revenue producing, we don't have as many perks. So yeah, we have like less promotions. We obviously don't get paid as well as like, revenue producing teams, which is a huge sacrifice. But I'm very happy I made it.
Have a set, because I am in compliance, which is not revenue producing either. But we have a general, like I've asked people, like every 2 to 3 years, you should be moving up.
Same. Like we have that too, but it just depends on if there's space, kind of.
Yeah, that's also the case. Yeah.
The nature of like what region you're sitting in and stuff. There's just like a lot of extra things to consider. It's not as like, okay, this person's been here 2 years, they get promoted in August, and then so far and so forth.
Oh, like, it's like hard set deadlines. I didn't know that was the case for revenue producing positions, because I've never been in a revenue producing
in this industry position. It is, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And sure, there are other like things you have to do other than length of tenure, but yeah.
That seems a little, I don't want to say unfair, but so if you're like, is it like if you hit a certain revenue, you are going to get promoted in August of 2025? Is that how that works for revenue producing? Or
no, it's just based on how long they've been there and that they're developing at the rate they need to be considered the next level.
So you just need to not fuck up to get promoted.
Yeah.
What?
Pretty much. And do trainings and and stay, stay and be like an active contributor and
that is starting
have
to
good client relationships.
Yeah, okay. Fuel some fire in me too.
Samesies, but no, in all reality, it is fun. But the good news is that there is a lot of upward mobility in the industry. That was the question. We can leave it at that. No, but yeah, regardless of the industry
than I thought it was gonna be.
Regardless of the industry, like you do need to be considering. I'm saying you, as in like these people are taking my advice. You need to,
that's good advice.
You need to think, like, make sure you're asking questions about that kind of thing, because it does matter. You want to be, if you're goal oriented like I am, you like to have a goal that you're aiming towards. You want to like meet within a certain time frame. That's super helpful for kind of like navigating the ladder, like at least getting off the bottom rung and like going up one, which is what I am. I'm up one. But it is super helpful. Yeah. To kind of like have a visual or at least something that you're aiming for.
Yeah. I didn't think that I was gonna learn stuff for myself.
And no one knows what I do.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's the real reason I have this episode. Trying to get to know Lacey.
Real friends don't know what each other does for their job. Tell me I'm wrong.
So true. I see those Instagram reels where it's like, you ask me what my best friend does, like, and she's like, I'm just gonna like die, because if I was like being kidnapped and someone asked me, I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
And that's on friendship.
I don't think I know most of what our friends do. I just know the general area.
Yep.
Science. HR.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, it's not even HR, it's talent.
Yeah. I know. The more you learn, the more you know. But what was I gonna say?
I gotta ask that for my like next quote unquote potential interview, just like knowing the exact like going up the ladder, because I kind of would ask that, but I never took the answer to that question seriously, because I always thought that they didn't have an actual schedule, and they might not, because you're saying yourself it's not as hardcore or like
it might not be as structured,
for non-revenue or depending on the firm. But just knowing that it is structured for some firms, the likelihood of that being also the case for other firms that I interview with, that question actually matters. I always took it like lackadaisical, like it's dependent on my merit and what I present. That's what I always thought promotions were about. But yeah, I learned something new.
It's a combination of things, for sure.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. What about, speaking of the ladder and like things we might want to achieve?
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of our fun.
What is your end goal in your career, Lacey?
Yeah. Which, again, I have no idea, because quarter life crisis, which we will talk about in another episode. But I think for me, I don't really know what I want to do end game. Okay. So like I'm enjoying what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Before this, I was in sales, in tech sales, so very different. And I really liked that too. I think I'm just still exploring what I like and what I don't like. And I think it's so funny because that's like not something that people really talk about in corporate
like
jargon,
the journey.
Like the yeah, and just trying things, like being open to trying things. I feel like the focus is so much more on like you join a certain industry, you stick to it, you promote, you become the leader and like, woo, go that person. But I've already tried 2 things and I've liked them both. And I'm like, oh, there's more to just like staying in one thing and doing it forever.
I also have realized we don't know about some jobs when we're in college. Like we don't even know that they exist. And then when we enter the corporate life, we
become aware.
Yeah. How is that a thing?
It's so true.
Like, how are there literally just like some industries and jobs that college kids just don't know about? Why are they not being not offered, but like kind of, we're not like made aware.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that, well, at least during COVID is kind of when I started looking for recruiting jobs. So I think COVID and like being at home a lot helped me be more thoughtful about what I wanted to do next. But also during COVID, I got my real estate license because I really like real estate. So I'm like, maybe that's what I'll do next. So I think,
I forgot about that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know what my future holds.
Yeah.
I also have I also want to have a business at some point, like something that's mine.
Oh, so you're telling me you don't want to increase shareholder value for the rest of your life?
Not at all.
That's not your life goal.
No. My goal is to have fun. Work hard and have fun.
Yeah.
Which you can do both. You can have both.
When did you, so you're saying that you want, one of your end goals is possibly starting a business.
Yes.
When did that become a realistic goal for you? You were like, oh, that's what I want to do. Was it during COVID? Is that when you had a lot of thoughts?
I think it was honestly more recently, like within the last year or so.
Oh, okay.
And I think
that's very recent.
Yeah. I think it mostly came from
Be strong.
Yes.
Because that is literally the title of
I think it mostly just came from figuring out what, I don't know. I think with this age that we're in, we're just trying to figure out what we're doing. Like that's the reality of it all.
What we
want.
I think,
I'm just a very reflective person. Like I'm always thinking about like, do I enjoy this? Do I not? Like what do I want to change?
Yes.
And so I think one of the things I like having in my current role is a lot of control over the people that come into the firm. And so I think in a sense, having a business is something that I would be able to own and like it would be mine and I would be able to curate it. And that's something that's very interesting to me. And I also really enjoy like going to school. So I would probably consider like doing an MBA and having that kind of kickstart that process. So it's not something I would like rush into by any means. It's something I would want to learn more about before I do it.
Yeah.
But
so you talked about, so like an MBA, is that the first step that you're envisioning in your head? Or what kind of business did you think about? You're like, I would be a fire boss to this business.
No, I think I want to go into like either wellness, so having some sort of like studio.
Wellness? We just had a wellness related episode.
I know you're gonna see us in these same outfits. Don't think anything of it.
No, that's not. Yeah.
But I think it started with like my wellness journey.
Yeah.
Being interested in wellness, wanting to somehow curate my own thing, whether it be like a studio or I don't know, I love smoothie bowls. So I've always wanted to do like a smoothie bowl type place because I feel like in our area, those are really lacking in the market. And so just by like being a consumer, I'm like, ooh, I could do this and make it better, you know?
That's what businesses are about. It's like filling a gap in the market.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't think I would necessarily need to go back to school to do it. It's just something I've thought about because I do like education and I've always really enjoyed the structure of schooling.
Yeah.
But I would consider just doing it on my own. But I think it just kind of came naturally from like hobbies and interests and things I like. And it just appeared in my brain one day.
I think most people get their business ideas from their everyday life, and they see there is a problem they've identified and can solve. And the best kind of business, in my opinion, is the business owner or the boss being their primary target consumer. Because you know what you want and what it could be better. So this morning you were looking for a smoothie bowl place. Was that like research for yourself in
honestly
the area?
Because I just know that in Boston there's
not
a lack. But yeah, stay tuned. I don't want to give away too many of my ideas in case you guys steal them. But I do have ideas to make it unique.
I think it's a vague enough idea that anybody could think of it, but not specific enough that people can steal your business plan.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows? Who knows what the future holds?
Yeah,
I also want to be a mother, so I have to figure that all out too. So we will see.
That is like one of the biggest problems that I feel that women face as they get older, and I have just avoided thinking about it altogether because it's such a complex issue. I don't even want to, like, I can't even go there, you know? Like, I will think about it when I approach that, but
it is something.
Oh, for
when
sure.
I think about the future.
Yeah.
What about you?
I hear B.
Oh, do we need to pause? I can't get stung. What were we saying?
Businesses.
So now tell me.
I don't know if there's a scientific correlation, but it feels like our interests in like going. I got scared. It's just the foreign. Our interest. Is there some type of correlation to people who just want to go out and motivated to do stuff and they think about things like businesses? Because you and I are big on going out, health and wellness, exercise, doing things, going on an adventure. Yeah, structure, habits, schedules, planning stuff. And then also thinking about businesses, because I also have thought about wanting to start my own business. And when I was a couple years ago in college, when people would ask me, oh, what's my dream? I would have a midlife dream, something that I wanted to open as a second business after my career has come to fruition. And that is such a millennial concept. The fact that our dream job, we start in our second career. And now I'm like, no, like I can start that now. And back then I wanted to open my own bar. This was before I was no longer drinking alcohol. And along the same lines, we don't have a lot of non-alcoholic establishments. We got our first non-alcoholic store recently in Boston, which I still haven't visited yet, but I would love to go check it out.
We should go.
Yeah, we should go. So that that's something maybe I want to look into, or starting my own mocktail brand. So yeah, that's also related to personal life and being my target consumer. So yeah,
I think that sums it up well. It's like based on things we've thought about or experienced and are noticing a lack or a gap. So that's where it all comes from. I love that.
For sure. There's a lot of potential in both those ideas, I think. So yeah, I think that's where we stand in our career and I think about that phrase, I don't dream about a dream job.
Me.
Because I don't dream about working. The closest thing to that being real for me seems like owning my own business.
Same.
Yeah.
Because we work to live, we don't live to work.
Agreed. I 100% live by that.
Me too.
I can't connect with people that don't feel that way. But I will say my husband needs to have the opposite mindset as me, because he needs to make the dough while I go relax and start my own business.
That's not going to be relaxing. That's going to be really strenuous.
He's a finance major, 6 foot with blue eyes.
Oh yeah, finance, 6'5", blue eyes.
Yeah,
trust fund.
Exactly. So that's my
That's
husband.
what we're looking for.
And he supports me until my business makes us multimillionaires, and then he can relax. Yeah.
I'm just letting you have your moment. I'm letting you see this through.
You gotta say like stuff like this. It's like clickbait. Okay, well, yeah. Did we touch upon everything?
I think so. Yeah. Unless you wanted to talk about your job stuff at all.
No, I already kind of like touched upon that. I think it was part 1, and part 2 was me wanting to pick your brain and talk about the behind the scenes stuff. And yeah, I think we touched upon it. Okay, thanks.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for having me. Bye.